Broadcasting from Watts Creative Studios and live on Grove Street FM. You're listening to Talk Local to Me, brought to you by the Central Virginia Business Coalition.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Talk Local to Me. I'm Heather Alto with the Central Virginia Business Coalition.
And I'm Mike Norfield with Visiting Angels of Lynchburg.
And it is cold.
Yeah, it's a little
chilly here in Central Virginia.
My car did not want to start this morning and warm up.
Mm-hmm.
And my commute is so short that my car started to get warm as I pulled into the parking lot at work.
Yeah, I made the mistake of not dusting my car off, you know what I'm saying? And yesterday. And so then, of course, it froze overnight. Yeah. And then I thought I had enough time to heat it because my husband and I had to go to the doctor this morning. And then I didn't plan enough time to actually heat it. So then we were worried about running late. But that's just my norm because I'm always running late.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No surprise there. But, it's supposed to be like this for another week or so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not thrilled.
Yeah,
I don't like, I'm for all you snow and winter fans, I'm sorry, but I can't stand it.
Yeah, it's supposed to snow again Friday, I think. And
no.
Yeah.
I got things to do Saturday.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, for gracious sakes. Anyway, well, I will say, it is nice to have I'm good with one good snow, but I don't want the, major, every week snowfall. I got stuck in the house with my kid for 3 days. I'll pull my hair out.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of thing. I feel like sometimes she needs to go to school. Right. And, but no, I like seeing it. It was fun for her to go out and play.
Right.
It is nice to let them, I don't like snow because I don't play in the snow. And
yeah, me either.
Well, I think I've mentioned on this, I may have mentioned on this podcast before, I have a deep seated fear of, sleigh riding.
Ah.
Yeah. It's a huge fear. Okay. So I had an accident when I was younger. There was this big hill across from my house we used to sled on, and it was everyone from the entire neighborhood would come to this hill to sleigh ride because it was this huge hill, and one half of the hill was straight down, and then one had these big bumps that you could whatever. And so the neighbor, he didn't mind us coming and sleighing on his hill. He was fine with it, but he had this camper that he would always park at the end, on the road,
right?
And so one time we were going, and I hit the hill, the part that didn't have the bumps, because sometimes the bumps would actually slow you down, but the straight stretch wouldn't. And and here we go, early train. But yeah, so this is probably how I sounded going down the hill, just train fast as can be down the hill. Yeah, there you go, right there. And I was going so fast, and everyone was trying to stop me, but they couldn't slow me down. And stupid me, I was younger, and I didn't roll off. I should have just kind of rolled off the sled, but I didn't.
Just kind of hung on and kept going.
I was just scared, yeah. And so I actually went and hit the camper and went up under, went under the camper part. And luckily, I think they had slowed me down enough that it didn't, because when it hit my neck and snapped my neck back. And so somebody was you probably could have had your head completely taken off if you'd been going any faster. I know. But so from that point on, sleigh riding has terrified me. I can't do it. I made him move his camper every year after that. I was I'm not sleigh riding if your camper's there. And so he did move it. It was really nice. But I just have this fear of being on a sled and not being able to get off of the sled. And I have the same fear for my kids. So anytime they go sleigh riding and stuff, I can't even go out there because it makes me too nervous.
I get you.
So anyway, there's my raw reasoning behind why I don't like winter and sleigh riding or tubing or snowboarding or anything that potentially could cause you damage.
Well, it looks like we'll have to cancel our trip to Wintergreen for the tubing that we planned for the podcast.
I was going to do it right after the show.
Right.
Yeah, I know. And it's
a little cold outside.
So much fun, I'm sure, but I just can't handle it.
I know one thing. I appreciate the remote start on my new vehicle more than anything now.
I used to have that.
Amazing.
My problem, though, with my remote start I used to have on my Jeep, though, is if any other issue, let's say you had, probably I should have just maintained it. But if you have a check engine or something, it won't allow you to do remote start, which is weird.
Oh, yeah. And if you're low on gas.
Yep. You can't remote start either.
Right. It'll start for a little bit, then cut off.
Yep.
So, yeah. Most of the time I'll get my husband to just start my car in the morning when he leaves. But so I did want to really quickly, before we get into talking to our guest, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Minnie's Travel Boutique and Chris and Kristen Breedlove for the amazing Dream On Summit we just had this past Saturday. I'm telling you, we talked about this on the show for quite a lot of different shows. We talked about this event, and to see it come to fruition, and it ran so smoothly.
It was so well organized.
Yes.
And everything went smoothly.
Speakers were phenomenal.
And they were prepared.
They were prepared.
They all had their PowerPoints in early and even practiced them on Friday night. And
And I'll also give a shout out to Castle Event Lighting, who did the lighting for the event and did all of like the AV and all of that work. And then also to Heavenly Sandwich here in Forest. They are located in the backyard. So they're one of the food trucks in the backyard. They did our lunch for us.
Right.
And first of all, they got there, got it done. Lunches were ready, to go, no issues. But the sandwiches, man, if
they were good.
Been to Heavenly Sandwich, though, they were not only were they delicious, they were huge.
Yeah.
Those subs were like, I can't even tell you. And they were just stuffed with like all the different meats and cheeses.
And it was a good
definitely no
balance of stuff too.
skimping.
It wasn't like just like 6 pounds of mayonnaise on a sandwich.
Actually, you know what? It's funny you say that because you really couldn't tell there was anything on it, but it was enough to give it the taste of having the condiments, but it wasn't like...
It wasn't messy. And
it wasn't like... Falling apart, getting mustard on my shirt. I mean, that's just because I'm messy, but, whatever. But
Blame
yeah.
the sandwich.
Huh?
Blame the sandwich.
Yeah, right. Blame the sandwich. But no, so big shout out to such a fabulous event.
Yeah, it was great. And the speakers were all willing to talk to people and very generous with their time to take pictures with fans. And
they were
different things like that.
The funniest part about that whole piece was that we went out to dinner that night. We took a couple of the not a couple. We took all of the speakers out, and as we've mentioned, some of them had legit celebrity status, and there were a couple of girls at Wasabi when they figured out who Doug Jones was.
Right.
Oh my God, it was hilarious. Like they were you could just see them huddled up, chit-chatting and talking. And then finally they came over at the end of the night because they pulled Autumn aside and they were like, is that? And Autumn was like, yes, it is. And they were like, well, do you think, we could get a picture? And she said, well, I'm sure he will, but please let's be, respectful of him having dinner. So let's let him have dinner. Let us get through the night. And then maybe end of evening, we can make something happen. So they did come over at the end of the evening, and it was really fun to watch them get to talk to him. And he graciously talked to everyone there, signed autographs and stuff. So it was pretty cool. Very cool. So yeah, next year when this event rolls around again, I highly suggest you get those tickets because if the first year was any kind of indication of what the rest of these will be like, you're going to want to get your tickets.
It was a great event. Did you bring Woody his gift that you got?
I did.
Oh, that was the sweetest thing. Thank you.
Yeah. So we
really kind.
We got Doug Jones to autograph a notebook for Woody, and then I had him do a personal video.
Get a video.
Good old video to Woody.
He said you should have been here.
Yes.
Yeah.
It made me. Yeah. It was sweet. It was very sweet. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we are going to talk a little bit more about some other events that are going to be coming up. I think starting in February, we have an event a month through May.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of things going on. A lot of things I know our guest, John Hall, is going to want to come to. Right, John?
Absolutely.
I know. I knew it. So we have today, we've talked about, I think the last 2 weeks, we've talked some about marketing your business. We've talked about making goals for your business.
Yep.
And a big part about, I think both of those kind of leads into us talking with John today about financial planning and what you're doing with, your money and your investments and all those great things. So
especially now as we go into tax time and you kind of get into that mode and like, man, I wish, the number was better for me for taxes, things like that.
Right.
Investing can help offset some of that cost as well.
Absolutely. So we have John Hall here with Lynchburg Wealth Management, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Great to be here.
Good to have you here. And so tell us a little bit, just kind of overview about Lynchburg Wealth Management. How long have you been, how long have you been doing the financial planning and where you're located and all that good stuff?
Sure. So I've been a financial planner now for, I date myself, it's been over 10 years, probably close to 12, I think, if I'm counting on my fingers correctly.
Yeah.
And Lynchburg Wealth Management is my firm. A little over 7 years there.
It's been 7 years, really.
It's been 7
Doesn't
years,
even seem like it's been that long, because when we first met, you hadn't opened up Lynchburg Wealth Management, and yeah. So what you're really saying, though, is, and what I want people to hear is that you are a long stint. You're not new. You didn't just pop up, last week and say, "Hey, I'm going to be a financial planner." So you're someone that's invested in it. Huh? Get it? Invested. And long. We need sound effects. But yeah, I think that's important when you're looking for somebody to handle your money, because that's something you need to have full trust in.
Right.
Absolutely.
I would think.
Been doing this for quite some time and been in finance even longer than that. So.
Okay. Awesome. Now, where are you located at?
Our office is in Windhurst, as many are. So we're over near the Muse Coffee Shop. A lot of people know where the Muse is. If you can find the Muse, you can find us. And been there for the entirety, and it's been a good location for us.
I had a meeting there the other day at like 7:30 in the morning, and I was like, I wonder if John's upstairs. But you weren't, I don't think, that early. But
I could have been. You never know.
Yeah, you can't ever sneak in on John either, because he's got the little doorbell and you have to walk upstairs. So he always knows you're coming. You can't be sneaky.
Can't sneak up on him.
I've tried. So let's talk about, financial wellness, of course, for, I guess maybe for businesses. I mean, I'm sure there's also your own personal wellness, but like, how important is it to be, I don't want to say aware of like what, you're doing with your money, but, what do you do with, like, let's say you get a windfall, or let's say you're like we were talking beforehand, let's say you're a company that gets, you get Christmas bonuses, or things like that. What are the first things people need to start looking into when they've got money they want to invest?
Yeah. Great question. It's particularly a good question this time of year, because a lot of people have those year-end bonuses, and a lot of the larger companies pay those in January and in February even. And so we can really look at where it makes sense to put those monies. If we're using the example of a bonus, for instance, and I could do math with even numbers, right? So if we have a $10,000 bonus, it's a nice even divisible number, then it makes sense to sit down and really think about where those dollars should go. I mean, and the first exercise there is to sit down with your spouse or your significant other and say, okay, what's important to us? And is our money going to those places? Because if you don't have that conversation first, and hopefully you have that conversation with a trusted advisor, then that money tends to disappear really quickly and you don't even know where it went. Right. So a bonus is a great example of something we should be doing all year round with our regular paycheck cash flow, but it's a one-time thing, and we can have that great one-time exercise of, okay, these are the things that are important to me and my family, right? And so you were talking about travel earlier. Well, for some people, vacations is a big part of what makes them happy, right? It's okay to allocate a portion of your bonus to fun, right? I'm not the financial advisor that says it all needs to go in retirement that you won't touch for 40 years, right?
Right.
Some of it should, but it's important to kind of make those decisions before the money makes the decision for you.
So, I'm really glad you're on the show, because I want to take some of this, what we're talking about, back to my my daughter and son-in-law, because I know they are getting my son-in-law's company that he works for just got bought out, and they were an employee-owned company prior to, so they have ESOP.
They're an ESOP,
ESOP company,
stock ownership program.
Yes, so he is actually getting ready at some point in the near future to receive a check, because they are paying them. This new company has to pay them
for the stock,
all their stock. And so he stands to get, I would say, a pretty significant amount. I don't know how much. It's not my business, but I just know he stands to get a decent amount of money from this potential sale. And we were talking about, like, of course, paying off some debt, bills and things like that. But this would be something that would be perfect for him to go and talk to somebody.
A great exercise, and it can be a one-time thing.
What it could look like.
One of the words you used when you asked the question initially, Heather, was financial wellness, right?
Right.
And I think that's so apt, because a lot of people think of financial advisors, and maybe because of experience with someone they worked with in the past, as just someone who's there to sell them product, right? People who will sell you expensive insurance policies are a dime a dozen. They all call themselves financial advisors. Some of them are great. but the others have given kind of everybody a bad reputation, right? And so what a good financial advisor can do just that, can advise. So can help you become financially healthy, just as a good primary care physician. I know you had an event recently with the primary care physician group.
Right.
Can help you stay healthy throughout the year, not just when you get sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
A good financial advisor can help you stay financially healthy throughout your lifetime, not just when one time things happen.
Mm-hmm.
But can also give advice when life comes up. So if you have a one-time check, like you mentioned, first ESOPs, because you mentioned ESOPs, sometimes are tax deferred from the get-go, and so you want to make sure that if you can keep them in that tax deferred status, you do.
Right. If you can roll it over into a Roth IRA or something like that, where there's no penalty right now for pulling it out. Yeah.
But then it's sitting down, and you mentioned debt. So I often kind of like to say, just like there's a mathematical order of operations that we all learned in school and have probably since forgot. Right. There's an order of operations of how you should think about where your money goes, whether it's your monthly cash flow or whether it's a one-time budget. One of the first items that you should think about is, do you have enough in a lot of people call it an emergency fund. I call it a life happens fund, rainy day fund, cash in the bank in a savings account that you can get to tomorrow if something unexpected happens, because in life, something unexpected does happen.
Right.
That's item number one, right? Item number two, after you've fulfilled that, is, have you taken care of high interest revolving debts like credit card debt, home equity lines of credit, sometimes old car loans that have a high interest rate. Have you taken care of those things and gotten them kind of off your balance sheet, if you will, or worked towards that? A lot of people have already done steps 1 and 2, right? So then you say, well, where's the best bang for my buck to kind of fill up where I should put my money? If you have access to a health savings account, often that's the next go route, because that's the only triple tax advantaged savings product that Uncle Sam allows us. And triple tax advantage is simply, when you put money in, you get a tax deduction, it grows tax free. And when you take money out, if you're doing it correctly, you take it out tax free, right? It's the only savings vehicle that we're available to all of us, or most of us, that can do that. So a health savings account is a good step number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Employee workplace retirement plans. If you get a match at your workplace retirement plan, up to the match is a good step 4, and I'd even kind of tie it with the HSA depending on where you are in life.
Mm-hmm.
After you've gotten the employer match, then you can go to something like a Roth IRA if you're eligible, which can be more beneficial and more flexible than a workplace retirement plan. But you want to get that free money first. Those are a good first few steps there. We could go all the way to 15, but it's important to kind of take a step at, where are you getting the most bang for your buck? Where should it go to meet the priorities in your life? 2 of those we just talked about are retirement focused. One of them, by name of it, would be healthcare focused, but if you're using your HSA correctly, you really shouldn't be using it for your day-to-day out-of-pocket healthcare expenses.
Okay. Now, what about like the was it 529 plans, or things for, like, if you're looking for security for your kids for college or things like that? Do you suggest people look into those as well with any additional monies they have come in?
Those are good tools to have in the tool chest. So it's always important. I use the airplane analogy, right? If you're on an airplane and you're watching the safety demonstration, they always say to put your oxygen mask on first before you help your child. And the reason for that is because if you don't put yours on, then you're not going to be around to help your child.
That's correct.
Same thing with some of these retirement savings vehicles. So Roth IRA is a no-brainer to put money in first before you fund a 529.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because if you, as a parent, end up not needing it, you can use it for your child's education. There are certain allowances, if you will, different reasons why you can take monies out of IRAs, including Roth IRAs. Qualified higher education expenses is one of them. So you're saving for yourself, but you're also allowing that future flexibility to be able to use that money for your child. But after you've met all those priorities, then yes, a 529 is a great place to put money, particularly for higher education. 529s have gotten more flexible over the past couple years than they were just a few years ago, because of some changes in the law. So now, one change in the past few years is now you can use 529s for K through 12 private education.
Right.
It used to be only, qualified higher education.
Yeah.
You can also, there's also an out. A lot of people say, I don't want to lock all my money up in this vehicle. And then, because everyone assumes their kid's going to get the sports scholarship, right? And more power to you if your kid does, but not every child gets a scholarship or a full ride. So they say, well, what if we don't need it? And there used to not really be a good answer to that question, which is why I'd always kind of go to 529s last. Now there is an out, and this just came into effect the end of last year. So if that 529 has been open for 15 years, and it was opened with a purpose of that child being the beneficiary, well, 15 years is a good time frame because, once you're 15, you're not yet in school, but you're getting close, right? So if the 529's been open for 15 years and the child doesn't need it or doesn't use it, up to $35,000 of that 529 can be rolled into a Roth IRA in the name of that child.
Okay.
So it's a good out. You still don't want to stuff too much money in them, but it's a good kind of lever to know that you can pull in the future if you need to.
Can that sort of can the 529, can that be used if your child decides maybe not to go to college, but they're going to like a trade school?
It can.
Okay.
So,
I wasn't sure.
It doesn't have to be a 4-year school. It can be a community college.
Okay.
It can be a graduate school. It can be certain different types of qualified education expenses.
Okay.
But it does not have to be a 4-year school now.
Okay. Yeah, because there's a lot of products that you can take advantage of throughout your life to kind of prepare for retirement and for things like kids going to college, things like that. And so in my world, I work in healthcare and home care. And so we have a lot of people that have long-term care policies. And that may be a great way to make sure that you have the care that you need when you're older. But if you don't take advantage of it and use it, then you've put that money into that policy and you don't really see a return on it. Whereas if you can save and just use that money and kind of pay for it yourself, it gives you more options and leeway.
It does. And a lot of insurances are like that. And we all need certain insurance coverages, and that's important, right? But if we're responsible and we're disciplined, and those are two ifs, right?
Right.
Then a lot of insurance coverage you can, over a long period of time, work out yourself. And so I'm always a high deductible kind of person, right? In other words, I'll get the insurance for the catastrophic event, but I'll save elsewhere more efficiently, so that my cash flow is not all going to an insurance company and I never see it.
And then if you have healthy years, if we look at life as like a business. So when you have healthy years, you're making a profit. Then if you do have a year where you have a lot of medical expense or something, you're dipping into that, but you've still got that option. If you never have a bad year, then you're able to use that money for whatever purpose you need, not just healthcare.
That's exactly right. And nothing is a one size fits all. And that's where a lot of online financial advice goes awry. Is it says, well, you should absolutely do this 100% of the time. And that just doesn't fit because, I might think different than Heather thinks than you think, right? And we might have different ways of feeling about things. And money and financial decisions and most of the coaching that I do, whether it be with a new couple in their 20s just starting out or a multimillionaire in his 70s, it's not the math around finance that people have trouble with, right? It's the emotions around finance that people have trouble with. And so understanding how different people think and how people are going to react and how can you deal with the fact that with a high deductible healthcare plan, you're going to have to be paying out of pocket $400 when something happens, right? And financially, mathematically, I can make the case all day long, why that may make sense for you. But if it stresses you out at night and you're not sleeping, okay, maybe it doesn't make sense for you and your family.
Right.
Talking about emotions, I think when we talk about financial planning and wellness and things like that, I think there's also a lot of people have a lot of fear with it because they're concerned about, I think there's, I say fear, but I also think anxiety is kind of the other word to it. It's like, are we doing the right thing with our money? They don't understand it. And so sometimes if they're not talking to the right person, it just kind of makes that grow. And then I think they also have this fear of like, well, what if I lose my money? Or, if I've only got this little bit to invest, or what's happening? And, so what do you say to somebody that comes in and they're just like completely nervous about even taking their money out of the sock drawer and putting it somewhere else? They're not just shoving it in that top drawer of the safe at home.
Well, what a good financial planner will do is sit down and have a conversation with you to get to know you and to get to understand that fear, right? Oftentimes there's an underlying reason for the fear. Maybe a mistake was made in the past. Maybe someone saw their parents lose a lot of money and never recover. And so talking about kind of the root of the fear is first, so that we can understand where it came from. And then talking through a potential scenario that the person fears. So you mentioned stock market exposure. That's a great one and a common one to talk through, right? Someone's like, I'm afraid I'm going to lose all my money in the stock market. Okay. Well, let's look at the money you don't have in the stock market first. Where is that? What's it for? And then the money that you do have in the stock market, what is that for, right? And so for everyone around this table, if we're talking about retirement, and Heather, you didn't tell me you're going to retire tomorrow, so I'm going to assume that it's a number of years from now, right?
Well, probably when I die. I'm thinking,
See, there you go.
Why? Because I don't have any money in any type of retirement fund, so I'm just working till I die.
But if we look at that time frame, right? Or if we look at, let's say someone in their 40s might say, well, I'm going to retire in my 60s or later. Okay, that's a common goal. Okay, that's 20 years, right? So stock market, yes, in the short term goes up and down, and we all know this. And a lot of people say the stock market is risky. The stock market's not risky for the right time frame. So on any given year, is the market going to be up or down? Yeah, you could say that's a coin toss. I mean, it's a coin toss in favor of up, but it's still a coin toss, right? In any given 5 years, we get a little bit more certain. 10 years, we're nearly certain we're in the 90-something percent of the time we're making money. But once you stretch that to that 20-year time frame, there has never been a period in the history of this country where the market has gone down over a 20-year period time frame. So if we look at it that way and say, is that risky? Well, I don't know. It hasn't been so far. So if you're looking at putting money away for a retirement time frame, where is the risk would be not putting it in the stock market, right? The risk would be putting it in cash or bonds or CDs or under the mattress, because all of those things in any 20-year time frame in the history of this country has made you less money. So it's framing risk appropriately. And once we frame that risk, people can kind of walk through, okay, well, maybe then I'm not in such a bad place.
Okay. So let's say that you've got someone out there and they've got some investments and they have some debt. So would you recommend that, just in general terms, do you want to try and make sure that you're saving for the future? Do you want to try and pay that debt off so that you get rid of those interest things that you're having to pay? And how would you balance those?
Sure. So it's important to look at what types of debt, right? If it's credit card debt, then the first thing we want to do before we talk about paying it off is talk about what got us to the point where we have that credit card debt, right? Because what is credit card debt? It's money that we've spent on things that we bought that we have not yet paid for, right? That's it.
Right.
And so we have to first raise our hands and say we bought things that we have not paid for yet. And second, say we're not going to do that in the future. Once we can say those two things, then we can talk about paying it off. Because if we go back to the one-time ESOP or a one-time year-end bonus, right? If you get a year-end bonus and it's $10,000 and you pay it all on credit card debt, but you don't address the problem that got you credit card debt in the first place, then that bonus is just gone.
Right. If you pay off the $10,000 and then turn around and you're just like, oh, let's
do it again next year.
Let's do it again.
Well, in your mind, you're like, oh, I have $10,000 now, I can spend again, but you really don't.
Right. And the hard thing is, a lot of people think that when you have an available balance on a card, that's we have that much money. No, you have that much.
Right. That is not an asset. That is a liability.
Right. Yes. Right. And you've really got to get out of the mindset of, well, I've got room on this credit card so we can afford it. Because
And I say that with a smile. That's not a financial sophistication thing. That's not an intelligence level. That's not a net worth item. That is human behavior, right?
Right.
And that is, the best and smartest among us can fall into that trap.
Right.
But a good advisor can help you get out of it.
To that end, though, let me ask what you would suggest for someone that's saying, like, for example, they don't have any investments, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any retirement. So I'm kind of talking about me here, but no, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you're talking, but they're sitting here and they're like, well, I basically month to month make ends meet. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't have that extra money
Mm-hmm.
to put into something, but they really need to. So, like, how do you coach someone into making those steps, even if it's $5, $10? I mean, I know that's a small amount, so you need more than that. But what I'm trying to say is, like, how do you get somebody to that place where then they are looking at their finances and saying, well, maybe you don't need to be doing this each month, and that money could go into an investment? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Because that's what I hear a lot of people when we do talk about financial planning, or they're just like, well, I'm barely making ends meet as it is month to month, and right now, cost of everything is rising, and people are stretching that dollar as much as they can. Where do you suggest they start?
Sure. Well, you use the key word there. The important thing is to start, right? Aristotle, I think, said that the beginning is the most important part of the work, right? So starting is sitting down and having a conversation. Say, okay, I haven't saved much, or I haven't saved anything. How can I do that? I keep saying a good advisor, because a good advisor and financial planner, a good coach, will help you really evaluate and take a look. But starting today with $1 is much more powerful than starting 10 years from now with 10, right? So if you have an extra dollar, and everybody has an extra dollar, then we need to say, where can that go?
What do you need to borrow $1? Okay, keep going.
You got it.
Just checking.
I like to, I have a white, I'm kind of old school. So I brought my laptop today. So I'm telling you, I'm old school. I have a yellow legal pad, which is where I take notes, and I have a whiteboard in my office, right? Or a whiteboard in our conference room. And particularly when a first-time person comes to me, or a young couple, or a couple in their 60s that's never budgeted before, we sit down on the whiteboard and we just say, okay, tell me what's important to you. Okay, now we're not talking about money. Tell me what's important to you. And if it's a husband and wife or partners, we have them answer that question separately, because the answers aren't always the same, right? We'll say, okay, Heather, you give me 1 through 5. Your husband give me 1 through 5. All right, well, let's average them out. Here's our new 1 through 5. These are the things that are important to your family. Okay, now let's take a look at your past 3 months' bank statements and credit card statements. Let's see where your money went, right? Did your money flow into the things that you say are important to you? And maybe it did, and maybe it didn't, right? Usually for some of us, and I think all of us, quite frankly, tend to get a little bit out of step. And it's either we don't know what's important to us, or we're spending money on things that at the end of the day, if we have the family conversation, aren't as important as the wallet might dictate. And so once you have that priorities conversation, then you can say, okay, well, these are the things that we say are important but aren't getting enough money. These are the things that we say aren't really important but are getting a lot. And so it's a reallocation of cash flow, if you will. And we can do those things. So that's the important first step. Then we get into the math of it. Okay, you have high interest rate credit card debt. How do we get rid of that? You have a home equity line that you took out 10 years ago for a 2-year project, but the line is still there, right?
Right.
Okay, maybe that wasn't as productive as it was sold to you as. And so we look at eliminating those things, and then really putting your money to the places that's important to you and your family.
Do you have many people that come to you, let's say, kind of to the end you were just talking about, like with the home equity line of credit, they're looking to do something. Do you have many people that come to you prior to making those big types of purchases, where you can look, sit down with them and say, hey, you may not need this, or yes, it's a good investment, or, someone who's been working with you for a while, maybe you already have their investments and their financial
Yes.
well-being at hand.
That is, really one of the most fulfilling parts of my job, Heather, is when folks who have been working with me for a little bit, and I have a couple different types of clients, but most of the people I work with me on a long-term basis, right? And so when they come and say, John, we're thinking about doing this, let's talk through it. And we can, one, make sure, yes, gosh, you guys are in a good place. You could have done that years ago. Or let's put the brakes on that and talk about how it will affect your family, right? You know, I use the home equity line of credit example because I'm not a huge fan, right? There's a purpose and a place for everything, but a home equity line of credit is a credit card secured by your home. If you don't pay a credit card, they're not really going to do much to you. If you don't pay your home equity line of credit, they can take your house, right? I'm being extreme here, and that rarely ever happens, but it can. And so you want to look at, are we using the monies for their intended purpose? And so if you're, and some people use those things very appropriately, right? And very, very wisely. I'm not speaking to that contingent. I'm speaking to the contingent that might keep a line open. And when I say open, with a large balance for a long number of years. And that just financially hurts you, right? And so if it's not financially productive to you and your family, then we need to talk about an alternate route.
So we've talked a bit about, like personal coming in and talking about, let's swap over a little bit to the business side of it.
Sure.
For any of our business owners listening in. How important is it for like business owners to be, looking into their investments and things like that, especially here at the first of the year when they're looking at taxes and things, looking at where their money's going, or if they have I know a lot of our sponsors have come in and said, well, I wanted to pay before the end of the year because I, get a tax deduction, things like that. How important is it for business owners to be working with a financial planner?
It's very important. As I think Heather, I got my start advising small business owners, and back when I was a banker, I like to say I'm a reformed banker. I'm not a banker anymore. But I used to work with a lot of small business owners, and I still do in my current capacity. But you have that same discussion we just talked about having with your family. You have at the business level, right? What's important to us? What should we be funding? What's a drag on our finances? And so this time of year, particularly, as you're setting a new calendar year ahead, a new fiscal year ahead for most businesses, it's important to make sure that the money is flowing to the appropriate places. From a purely investment standpoint, where I see a lot of businesses leaving money on the table now is, for whatever reason, some businesses have to have large cash balances, right? So a lot of my income is quarterly, right? So once a quarter, it seems like I have a lot of money, and then of course that dwindles down over the next few months. But a lot of businesses are like that, and they have large cash balances for a certain part of the year, and they have them in their business checking account earning nothing, and that just drives me crazy. Because risk-free interest rates right now, there's no reason why you shouldn't be getting 4.5% on your savings, right? There's no reason why longer-term monies couldn't be in treasury products. There are ways to make money on your money, but if you have more than a few $1,000s that you're not going to spend in the next 12 months sitting in a bank account earning you nothing, then you're just leaving free money on the table.
Okay, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about Mike, but I've learned a lot in this 25 minutes we've been talking with you.
Been good.
So thank you for sharing.
Well, thank you for having me, Heather. It's good to be here.
And if someone out there is listening and they're thinking, I have got to talk to John at Lynchburg Wealth Management, how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way to do that?
Well, the best way to do that is pick up the phone, right? Pick up the phone, have the conversation. Our phone number is 434-515-0380. They can check us out on the web, lynchburgwealth.com. And there we even have a nice little schedule a meeting button. We're pretty busy. So this is the busiest time of the year for our business. As far as planning engagements, I think I'm booked through the end of March.
Wow.
But that shouldn't stop someone from picking up the phone and calling and say, hey, I want to talk about something.
Okay.
Yeah, taking that first step of just making an appointment, if you're not doing anything right now, it's not going to hurt you to wait 2 months to be able to talk to somebody about starting, because you've already taken that first step, which a lot of times, especially for me, is the hardest thing of taking that first step. Like, all right, I really need to do something about this, and setting that that meeting is a great way to like, all right, you kind of told yourself, I've decided I need to do something. So it's great to go ahead and book that, even if it's out, like you said, March.
I think so. And you reaching out, like I said, always glad to have a conversation. Some people are really do-it-yourself folks, and that's great. I have that do-it-yourself spirit, which is why I'm an entrepreneur and small business owner, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't need help sometimes. And so a second opinion or a financial checkup is a product that we offer where we can just go in and say, John, take a look at these 5 things for me. Just make sure I'm not off track. Just tell me what I don't know. And we do that for do-it-yourselfers. And the funny thing is, over time, some of those do-it-yourselfers become do-it-for-me's, right?
Right.
Because they say, and I think as I've gotten older and I dare say wiser or maybe lazier, I don't know, I've learned the value of paying other people to do things that they're good at that I could do myself, but I'm not as good at.
Especially if they specialize in it, because, I can put together, make something out of wood or something like that, and it might look okay, but it's not going to be great. But if I can do it from a carpenter, and they do that every day, like they're going to be able to, they're going to do it quicker. They're probably going to do it cheaper in the long run, and it's something that's going to last. So it's, going to someone who specializes in that area has a lot of value.
I think so, and it frees you up to do the things that you are good at and passionate about.
Right.
There's a value to your time, and it's important to keep that in consideration.
So of the people that you talk to, that you start the process, how many of them are getting it like 95% right?
Oh, no one gets it 95%.
Right.
I don't get it 95% right.
So the reason I say that is because I think a lot of the reason that people don't want to reach out to someone, especially financially, and ask questions, is because they're like, I don't want somebody to see how I manage my checking account and my credit cards and things like that, because they're embarrassed because they didn't get it right. But that's why people like financial advisors exist, to help. And, you may not be able to fix the problems that were in the past, but you can definitely make a path to be able to get on the right track, and with a little bit of guidance, get it closer to where you need to be and make your life a lot easier.
Absolutely. I like to help. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's what gives me fulfillment and makes me excited to go to the office is so that I can add value, to people's lives. As cheesy as that sounds, right?
Right.
I wouldn't be doing it if that weren't the case.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was laughing. So I worked for an ESOP, and I actually left 11 years ago yesterday. So I've now been away from there a year longer than I was there, which kind of freaks me out a little bit. But I just completely lost my train of thought. Isn't that hilarious? Isn't that great how that works?
There wasn't even a train.
Yeah,
I
the train.
know.
I was getting ready to say the same thing.
There wasn't
John.
even a
You're
train.
Awesome, you got me.
So
Good job, John. Da-da-da.
that's great. But yeah, so helping, that's the reason I do what I do. Like, I didn't set out to go, I'm going to work in healthcare, things like that. I kind of accidentally found myself here, but like, I really want to help people and with care in their homes. And I'm invested in making sure they get the care they need. And it's the same thing for you. Like, you really want to see other people succeed in their financial goals and things like that, whether it's retirement or paying for college or anything like that.
And apparently my son is listening to me, because he's texting me about why I have not started a Roth IRA, because he told me to do that a long time ago so I didn't have to work to death. Thanks, Hunter. Appreciate that. I'm going to get on it. See, there you go. But Mike has something he normally
Yeah, I have a question I ask every guest that come on. Actually, 2 questions. One is, how long have you been part of the CVABC?
Good question. Heather's going to correct me. I think 6 years, almost 7. Yeah.
It's got to be right at 6, because I've been here for 6, and you joined right about the same time.
That's right.
He kind of, I don't say like, he just
as soon as I saw Heather Alto was going to be there, I just
that's
place
it.
to be.
You're
he
fired as a
morphed over
guest.
with me.
No. And then the other question is, what do you think is the best benefit that you get out of being a CVABC member?
It's opportunities like this, right? It's what I have found, and Heather will be the first to tell you, I don't take advantage of every opportunity out there. But there are creative opportunities, and they're different every year. There's Heather and team are doing a good job of introducing different ways for local businesses to, 1, get their name out, 2, to meet each other, 3, to really feel like they're a part of the community. And I think an organization that does that just adds value that speaks for itself.
Yeah. And so one of the things I love about this podcast is, like, networking is great, because you can go out, you can meet people. Like, I've met hundreds and hundreds of people, can tell you what most of them do. But really, like this platform, like the podcast, being able to kind of individually get to know different members has been great for me and for our listeners. So that, we've had guests come on and, I thought I understood what they did. And when they come in, it's like, oh, that's not at all what they do. Like, and you really learn not just what they do and what they offer, but kind of their story and how they got into what they're doing and what their passion is. And like you said, you like helping people and seeing them succeed in their goals. And I think that's one of my favorite things about the CVABC is it's just a bunch of cheerleaders, right? I think a lot of us just like, we almost celebrate other successes more than we celebrate our own, because we're just happy to see people succeed. And, we don't gatekeep success and
Yep.
Want to see everybody succeed and things like that. So I think the CVABC is a great group to be able to get to know not just businesses, but the people who run them and own them.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. A lot of great members.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. And I think one of the things I also love is like, even like John said, he doesn't come to a lot of events. I bug him about it, but alas, he's not there sometimes.
Has he been to more than Woody?
She does get pleasantly surprised when I do show up.
I do. Like when I see John, where were we that you showed up and I almost like fell on the floor? Was it a ribbon cutting? It was recently.
Forest Direct Primary Care.
It was.
Yeah.
When I saw John walk through the door, and here's the thing, this is what I want my members to realize is this is how much I truly love my job. And when I saw him come through the door, it was I was ecstatic. It was I was so happy to see him because I haven't seen him in a while, but to see someone come in that I haven't seen, I was able to talk with them. I was, able to, let him know about some of the benefits. Cause I was we've started a podcast and I was able to send him to things like that. So, even if you're not coming to everything, and that's the thing, I don't feel like you have to do everything,
Right.
But pick one or two things, find something that genuinely speaks to you and your business and get out there and be a part of it.
And to relate it back to our guest, you've got to invest your time into your business as well and networking and things like that. So you've also, I always kind of laugh when people join the CVABC and we never see them again. And it's like, it's not a magic bullet. Like you join and then your business grows. Like you've got to work with it. You've got to meet people and you've got to be at events and things like that.
Yeah. I always use the, what is it, analogy? It's like you have a hammer and a nail. And we can be the hammer for your business, but unless you come and use it, unless you use the hammer, the nail's not going into the board. It's gonna be still sticking out of the wood if you don't go in there and hammer it in. So you've got to actually do something to make it, make it work. So it's kind of what I use. But thank you for being on with us today.
Yeah,
I'm so happy to have you here. I've learned a lot.
Well, thank you for using your hammer and pushing me on down.
There you are. Yeah. See, I like it. it. I have to
John's
keep
with
on.
it. John, yeah.
I have to keep. John's got to come be on the show too. We might have to finally put. Well, Mike's name's gonna be on here soon. Promise.
Allegedly.
It's happening. It's happening.
Allegedly.
So, for the last couple of 9 minutes or so we've got left, kind of speaking of upcoming events, things that are happening for those who are here local to the area that are listening in. We have a lot of things you can get involved in. Everything from ribbon cuttings. We have quite a few coming up in the next 3-4 weeks. First up is Mike's actually.
One Monday, 4:00 to 2201 Langhorne Road.
Yep.
And we're also having an open house from 3 to 5 on the Saturday. So if you can't come on the Monday and you want to see our space and be nosy, from 3 to 5 at 2201 Langhorne Road, we'll have events. We're doing that a lot, especially for our caregivers, because a lot of them are working when we're doing the ribbon cutting.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either come to the open house or you can come to the ribbon cutting on Monday. We'd be glad to see you.
Yeah. So definitely put that on your calendar for this coming Monday, the 22nd. Yeah. And then February 1st, we're hosting 2 ribbon cuttings.
Ooh.
And so it's going to be, one's at 3 and one's at 4:30. So we're going to ask everybody to just kind of cut ribbons with us. Yeah, carpool. At 3:00 we'll be here in Bedford. The Homegrown Company, which used to be up on the corner of Southbridge and Main, has moved. Their new location is right here behind Woody's building.
Nice.
Is it the 620, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they are now located there, and we'll be doing their grand opening and ribbon cutting on the 1st at 3:00. So definitely come out here to Bedford, support them. It's a wonderful local retail shop. So you definitely want to come check that out. And then we're going to be heading back to Forest.
Oh, who's that ribbon cutting?
Yeah. So we're going to go to the CVABC office space in Forest.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting for Sweet Nannies.
Oh, they sound great.
Oh,
Very
Yes.
nice.
Oh,
Delicious cookies. I've heard.
right.
Yeah.
So Woody will expect you at that one as well at 4:30. And that'll be at the CVABC offices, and Sheena is going to be hosting her ribbon cutting there.
Right.
Really excited for her. I'm assuming she'll have some baked goods on hand.
She will. She's
for us
actually
to
making
try.
baked goods for our ribbon cutting and for hers. So
Perfect.
you'll get to try it twice, Woody.
All right.
Yeah. So, that afternoon you can come hang out with us at both ribbon cuttings. If you're only able to make it to one, maybe your business is in the Bedford area, come check out, the homegrown company's ribbon cutting. And then, if you're in Lynchburg Forest, you can hit up Sweet Nannies, or you can do both. And, I'm really excited about seeing the growth of businesses in our area, whether
Yeah.
it's that you're moving to new locations, whether
Right.
you're just a brand new business. Small businesses are, I know they're struggling, but they're also thriving too. Like
Right.
so we want to support that growth and come out and show, ribbon cuttings are not just there for people to just, okay, let me just cut a ribbon and yay, we're open.
Right.
Come out there, see what they have to offer, show them the support, show them the love.
Learn about that business and what they do.
Yep.
And yeah.
Because you are, most small businesses, one of their biggest avenues is referral and people knowing about what they do and pushing it out to other people. It's not always about the high level marketing. It's word of mouth, and that's a big piece of it. So
Right.
coming to a ribbon cutting can be just as important as going out and going in and buying something from their store. So
Right.
want to push that out. So we also have a couple of, I'd say, larger events coming up. We have, of course, our coffee talk. We have 2 in January. The last Thursday of the month, which is the 25th, we're going to be at Twin Creek Brewery in Benton for our Roanoke Benton coffee talk. We're having coffee. We're not having beer. Too early in the morning for beer. Sorry, guys.
You had me there for a second.
Right. But you're going to want to come out and network. And then we'll be at Kaya Health on Friday, the 26th, for our Lynchburg
Awesome.
area coffee talk. And then we have our annual business awards are going to be on February 22nd. We have tickets are open for that. They're $55 a person, $100 a couple, or you can get a table for $400 and a table seats 8. These are our business awards. Nominations are still open through Friday. So you're going to want to nominate a business in our area. We've got 8 different categories that you can nominate. I'm going to put this out there, though. You only need to nominate one time. Okay. So if you're a business owner out there, please don't ask every employee you own to put in a nomination.
This is not
So,
like a vote.
it's
for
right,
it.
it's not-
Yeah, this is just the
Yeah.
nomination part. This is not the voting part.
It's not like one of those things where everyone goes and votes and the most number of votes wins. No. You
Right.
just get nominated, and then we send you a questionnaire, and then we have a judging panel that actually votes. This isn't a popularity contest. We base
Right.
it on what you send us. So just wanted to put that out there. And the second thing I'll mention is if you nominate somebody, they do need to be a member of the Central Virginia Business Coalition to win, because these are our awards. They go out to businesses that are members of ours. So you can check to see if a business is a member on our website, cvabc.org. You can call us and double check, but just, you want to kind of look at that. But tickets are going to be are on sale for that. We're hosting that at the barn at Spring Rose Lane. Our Lead On Summit is scheduled for March 21st, and that is our Small Business Leadership Summit. It's a full day event from 9 to 3. We have some wonderful speakers lined up to come in and talk to you about your business and, leadership, entrepreneurship, all those great things. And then we've already got our Empower Women Summit scheduled May 30th. And the reason why I'm telling you about all 3 things is that Woody Watts over here has helped us. We have put together for the first time ever a ticket package for our members. So let's say you want to go to all 3 events. And this also includes our putt-putt tournament in April. So we've
Right.
got 4 events on the list.
Mhm.
You can choose any 3 of those events to get your tickets. See, the train's excited. Any of those 3 events to get your tickets to for a set price. And so
Awesome.
for $200, you get to go in and choose your tickets to any of those 3. So, of course, you guys are probably not going to choose Empower, but if you want to come to like annual dinner, lead on, and have a team for putt-putt, you can choose that.
Well, I didn't have a ticket last year. I just kind of crashed.
Yeah, that's true. But for most people who aren't crashing my party,
right? Yeah,
you're
don't
going
do
to
that.
get your tickets.
Don't do that.
But by doing the ticket package, you save money.
Right.
Because it's discounted. B, you've already got all the dates, everything on your calendar. You go ahead and you set them. You have your tickets ready to go. And so for us, it helps because then we have all of our,
you can kind of plan ahead a little bit.
Planning ahead on our head
how many tickets are left, how soon it'll sell out.
Correct. So we're really excited about being able to offer this package. The other cool thing about having this package is, if let's say you go on in February and you're like, okay, $200, you can request us to break that into a 4-month payment plan up through March. So you're only having to pay $25 a month potentially, or $50 a month to get those tickets versus chunking out $200 per ticket at a time. So there are options which help us make it more financially affordable for your business or yourself to be able to attend all of the fabulous events we do. You're not going to want to miss these because, like I said, we've got some great lineups. I can release our keynote speaker for Empower. We're really excited about. We will have Dreama Denver coming to speak. Dreama is an actress. She is an advocate for women's rights and women leadership. And, most people are probably thinking, well, okay, never heard of her. But she is the wife of Gilligan's Island, Bob Denver. So she will be coming to speak, and she'll talk a little bit about living with him and how that kind of worked, and then her own career. And we're really excited about that, along with all the local speakers we'll have.
My biggest question is, her talk's supposed to be a 3-hour tour?
Somebody else.
No, that was me.
That
was me, yeah.
He keeps playing.
There we go.
Now we have the sound effects.
I was waiting. I found it. I found it later in the episode. And
Look,
love it.
Somebody's going to come in.
Media Squatch up in the game.
There we go.
We don't play this year.
So we've got some really great things. You can find all of the event information. You can get the ticket package that is now available under events on our website. You can also go on our website, CVABC.org, and go under events and pull up our calendar, which shows you all the dates that you can kind of look on those and make sure if you just want individual tickets, you can purchase them as well to each event. I will also mention, if you're interested in being a sponsor of Talk Local to Me, we do still have those options available. You can be I think it's $100 a month. We do your commercial for you on the air. Mike and I do a host-read commercial.
Right.
You can do for $200 a month where you actually can record your own commercial that we play as well. Or for $250, we'll name the studio after you for a full month. It's like we could be coming from you live from the Lynchburg Wealth Management.
Woody, it almost might be worth it just to personally do it, just so that Heather has to say, from the Mike Norfield studio.
It might be. There we go.
There you have it.
Yes.
But
maybe we could crowdsource that or something.
Yes. But one of the new
fundraiser,
the new add-ons, Woody and I had a powwow last week, so we're really excited about this. So not only is this a new add-on for potential sponsors, but also a new add-on for our members, a new benefit that I want to talk about. For those of you who have not downloaded, if you don't have Grove Street FM, the Grove Street FM app, or if you're not going to Grove Street FM to listen live, you need to be. Woody has a lot of great, if you want the weather, if you want to listen to like stuff going on in the town of Bedford, if you want to listen to different types of music, if you want to listen to podcasts, if you want, you name it, Woody's got it on there. He also has the opportunity for digital like banner advertising on Grove Street FM. So now our members, when they join, will get a free month banner ad on Grove Street FM that they can continue after that for $100 a month. And Woody's able to give those stats. I think you said you could show impressions of 15,000 more?
At least a month. Our numbers are growing, and the last year it has grown tremendously. So every month it just changes. But the most important thing is that we have a hyper local engaged audience. So I'm talking like we broadcast the local high school sports here. Our podcasts are local, so that when people tune in, it is actually an engaged audience. It's not just on tuned in the background. People are actively seeking us out, downloading the podcast. So it's really nice because you can put something out there, and it is almost guaranteed somebody's going to say, "Hey, I heard this," because we get that all the time with the sports broadcast and all of the local shows we do. People are always saying, "Hey, I heard this on there." So it's a great opportunity for a local business.
Yeah, and it's people from the community.
It is, yes,
focused on their community that they're listening to. So
yes. And so we also will have some more. Woody and I our heads have been together. We got a lot of great other opportunities coming out for businesses in our area as well. And so big thank you to Woody. And just for reference, just before we get, Casey is staying part of the media squad.
Yeah, Casey's
team,
not going anywhere. Casey's a value part of the team. She's vital. I am looking for, maybe I should have came up with another title. I'm looking for a podcast production assistant because we are getting to do so many shows now and want to do more. But the marketing part is taking my time, and I want a qualified individual to assist in the the production of the podcast.
Right.
Casey's not leaving.
Not assisting,
I know of.
Woody.
Yeah. How many messages did you get? Like, what'd you do to Casey?
Where's Casey?
Why'd you make her mad? She left.
I don't know if she's going anywhere unless she said something. I don't did she tell y'all something?
No. She said as long as she gets a Buc-ee's hat, she's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Woody's sporting the Buc-ee's
that
hat
I know of. Casey is not going anywhere. This is an addition.
It is funny.
Our team is growing.
How many people after you put that comment up, messaged me and was like, "Is Casey leaving the show?"
What happened?
And I was like, "No, she's
not that I know of.
Now I just met with her yesterday. I hope she would have told me.
I just got her new business cards. I hope she's not going.
Yeah, right.
I know.
So anyway, well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope that you learned something today, and that you will join us again next Wednesday. And, if you need any information, you can look up John's business, Lynchburg Wealth Management, on
CVABC.org.